Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today we have a real treat for you as we are talking with talent from the hit Paramount Plus series, The Good Fight. To kick things off, I'm going to introduce you to Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta, Jill Monroe in Los Angeles, Reggie Pounder in Chicago, Dana Abercrombie in New York, Nancy Green in Baltimore, Karan Lenore in Charlottesville, Virginia, and L.B. Taylor, I believe you're in Washington, D.C. area, correct? Fabulous. I'm gonna let you guys do what you do so well, and I will see you on the other side.
Where do you want these?
I have this weird feeling of deja vu.
What do you mean, unpacking your stuff?
Oh, we've done this before.
What do you mean, unpacking your stuff?
Thank you. I used to believe in progress. That we learned from our mistakes. And I feel like I'm back where I was 6 years ago. No matter what we do, we just end up back at the start.
Thank you, God. We plan to kick ass in your name, Brady.
Diane, give him a chance. He's a rainmaker.
I am not Diane. I am Liz.
Sorry.
Reddick is over. I am a brand.
My lawyers do not want to work for a brand.
Oh, sure they do. If it's that or unemployment.
I'm feeling it. That most dangerous feeling. Hope.
Where do you find your optimism?
In a hallucinogenic drug called PT-108.
You're joking.
No. Oh, hello, world.
Feels like bad times.
Oh, yeah. One slash away from civil war.
What's the ethics of all this?
Standing next to each other at a bar talking? I think we're all right.
You don't think this is all a bit ridiculous?
There is very little in this world that I don't find ridiculous.
The point isn't the end.
Come on, big boy. Loosen your chaps.
The point is winning.
People worry we're gonna lose everything.
What, the firm?
And the country.
Oh, Cody, let me have a drink or two before we face that. My God.
You, and you. It was a conference call.
Hi, I'm Reggie Pounder, the Real Critic out of Chicago, and I want to say, first, just say thank you to both of you guys for the characters that you display on this particular show. Audra, my question is for you, is that your character is powerful, fierce, complicated, funny, vulnerable, all of that. What do you want people to take away? What are you trying to say, you, not just the character, but what are you trying to say particularly with your character?
Well, I think that in this day and age where we're looking to see more diversity and representation on our television screens and on the movie screens and on stage, I want to show that there can be fully realized, complicated, fully human, Black women portrayed on screen. And that's what we're seeing with Liz. Liz is, she's a bag of contradictions. She's like all of us are. She's a powerful woman. She's insecure. She's confident. She's lonely. She's got too many people in her life. She's a mama. She's a worker. She's fierce. She's frightened. She's everything, And I think we need to see more of that, especially among people of color in television and on screen. We get all these great, wonderfully complicated, interesting characters, with other TV shows, and then we've had to fight to get the same thing for Black characters, especially, instead of just being the best friend or the magical Negro or the one who, you know, who says, oh, I'm listening to you. That's very interesting. Meanwhile, they have no life, but I'm just helping to facilitate your life, interesting Caucasian person. We are that too. And I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to play that. Did I say too much? I'm sorry.
No, you said just enough. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Jill Monroe, Access to the Life. My question is for Michael. Michael, we've seen Julius go through several things over the course of The Good Fight. So my question to you is, in season 6, what do you think his greatest challenge will be?
Wow, I think his greatest challenge really actually sort of involves the confluence of all of the things that have kind of occurred for him throughout the run of the show. You know, from being exposed as the hidden Trump supporter, having been forced to reveal his political beliefs, but also struggling with the fact that, and this is something that I've even sort of tried to infuse in the character from the Good Wife days, which is a sense of fierce loyalty and devotion to the firm, to the idea of whatever firm he actually works in. And now, at the beginning of this show of the Good Fight, we discover him in this all-Black firm in Chicago, and so an idea which he firmly supports. And so, despite the drama that he's had to sort of endure and has caused as a result of his political beliefs, he's still, and it's something that I always am curious about when I look at folks from the opposite end of the political spectrum who are also people of color, who are also people in the LGBTQ community. There's that part of me that just says, wow, how does that work? How's that working for you? You know what I mean? It's just very curious for me. And so this season, I think, has been the culmination of that struggle, where Julius has to make some choices. Who is he going to be in this world? Is he going to be the devoted, religious father, pro-life conservative, or is he going to be the sort of, he actually helps in one episode sort of help to sort of redefine the goals of the Democratic Party, which is not giving away too much. And so I just found this final season to be sort of replete with that kind of what I think are really the complications that we all struggle with in real life. I don't think anybody is purely conservative or purely liberal. I think we are all a mix of both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Carolyn Hines, first Here's What Happened in Carolyn Talks podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Huge fans. My question is for Audra. So one of the themes that I'm picking up for season 6 is allies. And it's talking about allyship in politics, but it's also talking about allies with regards to friendship and mentorship and partnerships within the law firm and in her personal life as well. Can you talk about how Liz is going to be able to define and place the people in the correct order of allyships that she needs them to be? Because there's certain characters that come into season 6 that kind of just like tip her off to the side and just like blow apart her expectations of what being a partner and an ally is.
Yeah, I think you've hit on a really good point, and something that I've said in a couple of interviews already today about Liz. And what happens a lot for Liz in this season is she keeps getting knocked off her axis. She keeps trying to right the ship and write what she thinks and what she believes in terms of, allies and how to run this firm, and all of that keeps getting knocked. She keeps getting knocked off that. And so she has to keep writing herself, as it were. Liz has worked hard in season 5 and a little bit so in season 6 to sort of at least shore up what her relationship is with Diane and what Diane's relationship is to the firm, and the proper place for Diane to be in the firm, seeing that this is a Black firm. And we've already established in the last season that you cannot be a white person in leading a Black firm. It's just not right. And we finally get Diane to understand that, and Diane to find her place in the firm and still be very valuable to the firm and still do what she wants to do. But again, that's an ally that Liz has sort of cemented that allyship and trusts it now and puts it in the right place. Then Richard comes in. And Rashad comes in, and you would think that he's going to be an ally, and well, no. Just, you know, what is it? Skin folk ain't always kin folk. So it turns out to be a bit of a situation there that they have to work through. And discovering, you know, what's going to be best for the firm and whether or not they can both survive in that firm, even though you would think that they are on the same page and on the same side. They aren't necessarily. So there's some good allegories in there for, you know, how we go about looking for allies in life. I think we'll see that throughout this season as well.
Great, thank you. Yeah, Andre Braugher as Rashad was inspired casting for sure. Thank you.
I'm your ally, Audra.
This is true, of course, at all times, Boatman. But, you know, Liz and Julius, that's a whole other story.
I'm wounded.
Hi, Dana Abercrombie from the Coalition. My question is for both Michael and Audra. Season 6 really seems to be like it's an ominous tone. We have, without much spoilers, the birds are flying into the windows. There's certain threats that's happening. And so coming from, you say, different sides of the spectrum, I was wondering, how does your characters kind of really approach season 6 with that kind of the end is nigh?
Audra, you want to go, or?
You go ahead, Michael, go ahead.
You know, I think that from the very beginning of season 6, I sensed, as you know, what the Kings, Robert and Michelle King, have been leading toward, is this sense of sort of apocalypse. You know, at the end of season 5, I think meteors were falling from the sky, and you know, all kinds of weirdness was happening in Chicago, and all seemingly sort of generated by the weirdness that we're all experiencing in this country right now, about the weirdness of people and the weirdness of politics, how it all seems to have, or to be reaching a critical point. And I think they capture that so well all through the series. And obviously, with this being the final season, they managed to sort of bring everything to a head. So everything's on edge. Everything feels like the world is ending. There are actual moments of great physical peril in this season for all of the, you know, lawyers at our firm and all of the characters in the show. And so I think it was quite easy to dial into that sense, but also still sort of keeping with that great humor that they've always managed to infuse into this show. One moment you're, you know, fearing for the life of one of your favorite characters. The next minute, something hilarious happens to them. And so it's sort of like real life, and particularly life right now. It just sort of keeps you guessing, keeps you off your balance, but always sort of fascinated and interested to see what's happening next.
Yeah, I would agree with everything Michael says. You know, if you look at sort of the way that the show has always sort of had this sort of foreboding sense, look at our opening credits, you know, where things that, you know, that are beautiful or things that you take for granted are just blowing up everywhere. And they've always sort of like teetered on that edge. And I think this season, they go full throttle. Not that they're not always going full throttle, but they really go full throttle into that a sort of apocalyptic sense, instead of like, oh, is it possible that things could blow up, you know, literally and figuratively. In this season, it's like, when are things going to blow up? Because we know it's coming, it's inevitable. Like we're reaching a boiling point.
Hi, LV Taylor from We Live Entertainment. So as a Black woman and a lawyer myself, I was really drawn into this show. And I think that it's one of the best legal dramas, like, period. And it was refreshing to see a Black law firm thriving on television, because it's not something that we always get to see. So my question is, what was it about this project that drew both of you to it? And why do you think going into the 6th season that it's still resonating so well with audiences?
Well, I can say on my behalf that since I had been a part, and Audra had as well, for The Good Wife, first of all, you know, that show, like our show, was what I always just think of as just an adult drama. It really tackled issues and, you know, difficult social questions, and in an honest and forthright way. And honestly, that's rare. It's still rare. I mean, it's becoming more prevalent and sort of in our business. But initially, I think with The Good Fight, when they invited me to join that show, our show, this show, it just was sort of, oh, wow, this is really, this process that the Kings initiated has really ripened. They really got it now. And also, oh, wow, a Black law firm on TV with real people who aren't incompetent or crooked or whatever, all of the tropes that we've all seen, you know, about, you know, with regard to Black characters in television in the past. And so, having worked with them in the past, having respected their work, I you know, jumped at the chance. And once they also told me that, oh, there was going to be a little curve, a little right curve instead of a left curve for me, which is they informed me in season 1 that, oh, by the way, you're a Trump supporter. What? We never talked about that in The Good Wife. I you know, so initially they hooked me with a chance to work with people who I love and respect on a show that I knew would be great, but also with the challenge of, what? How am I? I've got to do this the way that I always approach every role, which is to honor it and to honor that character's reality and his emotional, his inner life. But I've got to do it in a way that makes sense for me, and it's dealing with political ideology that I personally, Michael Boatman, vastly disagree with. And so for me, it was the challenge of trying to get that right. I always want to get it right, and that's sort of an irresistible lure for me, if you will.
Yeah, I joined the show in the second season. And I had been in the Good Wife universe, and it didn't take much to hook me, quite honestly. You know, they're like, do you want to do this show? It's a spinoff. It would be your same character from The Good Wife. Christine Baranski is leading the show, and I've known Christine for many years, and we've never worked together. And we were acquaintances, but never friends. And so I jumped at that opportunity, and then I watched one episode of it. And I watched the episode, the beginning episode, where Delroy Lindo's character, Adrian Bozeman, says, "You'll be our diversity hire." And I was, I'm in. Yeah. I am in 100%. What an opportunity, like Michael said, to show these characters living their lives, being successful in a thriving Black firm. And again, not some fantasy world that exists. Can we show that, please? Can we please show this side? There are all different sides and all different facets to Black life. This is one of them, and it deserves to be seen. So for all those reasons, and then to know that there's incredible cast like Boatman and you know, we had Chris Jumbo and Delroy and, you know, and everybody and all the guest stars that they bring in, I was just sold. I was absolutely sold.
Thank you both.
Hello, this is Karan Lenoir from Karanism.com and Love Music Pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's literally a pleasure to meet you both. And Audra, I'm fangirling a little bit because I followed you for so many years. You're one of the most celebrated artists in our entire lifetime, in our history. And I give thanks for that.
Thank you.
My question is, this is one of the first programs to go straight to digital for CBS and for what is now Paramount Plus. I'd like to know how you've seen the response of the audience change. Has it grown? Has it waned? Has it gotten more rebellious? Because the writing is a little bit more rebellious than it was when it was in The Good Wife. So please tell me how you've noticed the changes, both of you, in the digital space versus the primetime space.
Well, Michael, I think I'll just start. First of all, thank you so much for your very kind words. I think being that it went straight to digital, there was a little more freedom for the artistic freedom, because we didn't have the sort of, you know, the constrictions and the restrictions that you have in prime time, where you can't say this, you can't talk about that, whatever. They were kind of left alone. The Kings were left alone to just do. And I don't think that freedom, I think, has helped sort of the show be as wild and you know, no holds barred as it is. I think that's because we have absolutely kind of all the freedom we need for it to be artistically what it needs to be. I mean, the hard part about it being digital is there are certain people who can't afford to you know, have a subscription to the platform to see the show. And that can be frustrating. And I wish there was a world where we could both have the artistic freedom that we need and then the accessibility. So for anybody who wants to watch it, to be able to watch it, whether they have the financial means or not. So that's been a challenge, I think, for me. I know, Michael, you want to speak to that as well?
Yeah, you know, first of all, from a purely sort of perverse standpoint, I think Robert King actually said to me something like, before we really got started, he said, well, think about how excited it's going to be when you watch Christine Baranski, who's played this character on The Good Wife, you know, to such brilliant, you know, effect for so many years, start dropping F-bombs. And I went, yeah, I'd tune in for that, just for that. But also, as Audra said, sure, lots of sort of more creative freedom. I'm not even sure we could have had half the racial discussions scenes that we did have on the show on network TV. I hope now, maybe, you know, because of our show and because of this sort of wave of you know, openness toward people of color and our rising presence in this industry, maybe now that's better. But for sure, at one point, I remember being on the set looking at Audra McDonald, Nyambi, Delroy Lindo, and all of our wonderful background. I've said this to you, Audra, you know, at one point looking at an office full of beautiful Black people and thinking, I'm on the blackest show on television. What? How did this even happen? There are no white people. Where are the white people? This was a scene without Christine Baranski, who is, you know, a queen and a goddess of all kinds of ways, in all kinds of ways. But this scene just happened, and it wasn't, oh, let's just write a scene about the Black people, but it was a scene that addressed issues that faced the Black community, and of course, the larger community as well. And that's one of those moments where you just feel, wow, how did I get here? I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Not only that, but then to work with unbelievable, great talent, people that I, you know, happily have become friends with over this time, like Audra. Of course, this season, wow, Andre Braugher, you know, and this is the pinnacle of talent, not only Black talent, but talent. And so all of that is something, I'm not sure it all could have come together on network TV, but it sure as heck came together in digital, and I'm really happy about it. Now, I would also concur with Audra in that I wish that somehow we did live in a world where these things were easier to access. My mother complained for 6 months. How do I do it? What do I do? Do I have to push a button? How do you? So, but I think that's coming. So I'm just glad to feel like we maybe helped to pioneer this whole streaming reality.
Well, thank you so much. I love what Audra said about Liz being fierce and frightened. And I think that's kind of the same for this series, is fierce and unfrightened. And I appreciate you guys leading the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Nancy Green from Film Critique. And I wanted to know from both of you, I really found the dynamic between Liz and Richard very interesting. So I wanted to know your perspectives on it from being both inside and outside of that dynamic.
You know, when I first found out that when Audra first found out that they were bringing in a male character, This is before they told us who was playing the character. They hadn't cast Audra yet. They just said to us, we're bringing in this male character. I have to admit, there was a part of my psyche that wilted a little bit. And I was like, wow, Diane and Liz have finally gotten to this place where they're these two strong female women leading in their own way now this firm. You know, Diane understanding that she cannot lead a Black firm, that Liz has to be the one to lead it, but she is going to be a part of it. And I was very excited about not sort of necessarily standing in the male gaze for the show, for this season. So I was a little disappointed. I'm very honest about that when I first read that, oh, they're bringing in, you know, some 800-pound, you know, gorilla, and I just to shake things up, that male energy to shake things up. And that was upsetting to me for a minute. Then it was Andre Braugher that they cast. And all of that changed for me because I just adore him. And we all, you know, Michael, we all just adored him and adored what he brought, the presence he brought to the show and the challenge and the obstacle that he brought in for them. I absolutely adored the ways that, you know, Liz and Richard, you know, learn about each other. And a lot of it's combative. And then sometimes it takes very surprising turns where we find each other, that we need each other in a way that we didn't think or didn't want to admit that we need each other. And I think all of that has led to some really rich material this season. So I'm glad now in hindsight, I'm very glad that he was brought on. But in the way, like Michael said, you know, with certain scenes where there is no white gaze in certain scenes that we do, you know, in this television show where it's just, you know, all Black people and they're talking about, you know, whatever. I was kind of hoping for that for Liz and Diane from the male gaze. And while I didn't get that, I got something else that I'm very happy for, the way that it worked out. Michael?
Very interesting, Audra, and I will cop to this. My version of what you experienced was, hey, I'm the Black man on the show. Now, after Delroy left, you know, I was like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, be able to spread my wings around here. And then I hear it's Andre Braugher. Now, Andre and I had worked together many years ago in a play reading, so we knew each other a little. And of course, being, you know, men of a certain age, of a certain ethnicity, we know lots of people in common, but we hadn't really worked intensely together. So the first scene where he appears, and of course, when I think of, you know, as with last season's sort of male energy in Mandy Patinkin, or the season before that in Michael Sheen, I always find for me, the question is, okay, how do I interact with this person? What's my sort of, you know, philosophy for Julius in dealing with whichever, you know, obstacle character I come across? Suddenly with Andre, it got a little complicated because I knew him a little. I, of course, knew his work. But then it occurred to me, wait a minute. Two A-type, impeccably dressed, bald Black men, if sort of facing off, because in his first appearance, he meets Julius, he meets Mike, he meets me first, and I just immediately had this hilarious image in my mind of two enormous roosters, kind of like, you know, circling around each other, like, and it kind of actually plays out in the scene a little bit. There's this sort of energy of, hey, you know, what are you doing here? And I suspect Richard's character, as played by Andre, was giving me sort of a "who are you to ask" kind of thing, and that just sort of kicked us off, particularly in that episode. I think there's a lot of fun where in our interaction, particularly as he sort of is trying to get to know who's in the firm, and I'm like, why are you asking? And so there's a fun, wonderful little sort of testosterone exchange in that instance. And then over the course of the series, you know, our relationship shifts a little bit as I become more useful to him, he becomes more useful to us. So it's nothing but fun.
Nice. Thank you so much. And I also have to say that I think the Kings have a great visual style. that you all work really well in. I also watched the show Evil, and I can see a lot of similarities between the two. So yeah.
Two great shows.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Audra and Michael, thank you for the work that you've done with this really, really great show. We appreciate your talents, and we look forward to following and supporting you in all of your future endeavors. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, thank you for watching this edition of AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.
Thanks
everybody.
Nice
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet everybody. Thank you so much.